Hi, my name is Mark Avnet. I'm a senior business advisor with the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center Network out of the Berkshire branch. And I'm joined on this call today by some of our lender and SBA partners. Today, we'll be talking about where your next customers are coming from and that they may not be who you think that they are. Helping entrepreneurs and small businesses is our job, although we each focus on different parts. Helping people with an idea to develop that idea into a viable business, or helping people who have a viable business grow it, or helping people pivot during disruptive times to keep their business going. And the people on this call are critical to that. And the key to success is often smart funding at the right time. We want more people to have increased access to critical financial and funding tools. So we work to find and develop more clients and more customers. Let's talk about who our next clients and customers are going to be. We all know these kids, right? Millennials, self-centered, snowflakes, entitled, always online. Smart though, and a lot of buying power. We've been getting ready for them for the last 15 years, but here's the problem. The kids in this picture, those aren't millennials. These are some millennials. AOC, 31 years old. She's a congresswoman. Zook, 36 years old, founder of Facebook. Emma Watson, Hermione Granger, no more. She's 30. Jason Rosario is 38. He's the chief diversity officer at a global ad agency. Many of us still think of millennials as being 18 through 24 because that's how old they were when we decided to give them that name. Remember though, when we give a generation a name, they keep getting older anyway. In fact, millennials are getting up towards 40 now. So here's the point. Millennials aren't your next customers. They're already your customers. To put the different generations in a cultural context, you can think of Bill Murray as being a typical boomer at 70, which freaks me out a little bit. Kelly Ripa is a pretty good example of Gen X. She's 50. Lena Dunham, millennial. She's 34. Jaden Smith, on the other hand, is from Gen Z. He's 22. So these guys, not millennials. They're Gen Z, born after 1997. They're 15 to 25 years old. They're our next clients and our next customers. And here's why they matter. They're over 25% of the US population and over 41% of US consumers. They represent $44 billion worth of annual spending power, and they influence $600 billion of family spending. That means we need to look deeper into how we should cultivate our next customers. And I do mean cultivate. This isn't about an ad campaign or a new app. This is about a shift in the kinds of things we offer in addition to financial services. Generations can be defined by mindset probably more easily than by how old they are. Boomers are stereotypically described as entitled. Gen X is as cynical. Millennials as self-absorbed. And it's fair to say on the whole that Gen Z is a pragmatic generation. Here's why. They see the world differently because the world they grew up in is different. And while that's true for every generation, for Gen Z, it's always been a post-9/11 world. There's a war on terror. US is in international conflict. There's a great recession. There's school shootings, COVID, massive unemployment. It's a tolerant generation. They've had a Black president for most of their lives. Obama was elected in 2008. Bullying is discussed as part of the school curriculum. The majority of Americans support marriage equality, according to a 2015 study. Half the Gen Z generation is comprised of people of color. The family composition is different than for many other generations. Older siblings are living at home. Grandparents are living at home. Pretty much everyone's living at home due to the lockdown. Technology that was disruptive to many of us is second nature to them. Facebook, Twitter, iPads, the mobile explosion, all of these things happened within their lifetimes. Not only that, but their financially formative years have been disrupted by a global pandemic. And so just when they should be starting to feel stable, everything's changed. And that's shaped who Gen Z is. They tend to be doers, not dreamers, more action-oriented, seeking to improve themselves. Authenticity is more important than perfection. You can see that the prom couple in the upper right-hand corner of this picture, well, they're doing the right thing. They're going out to dinner for a celebration. They're just doing it at a Subway sandwich shop. They seek genuine interactions with a real preference for realism. They've got what's been called an 8-second filter. It's not a short attention span, although they're often accused of having an attention span shorter than a goldfish, whatever that means. They're just very good at assessing the value of information pretty quickly. So they tend to prefer images over text because images can convey a lot of information much more quickly than linear text can. They are consciously private. One-on-one and anonymous communication is on the rise. And in fact, according to a Institute of Business Management research study, less than 30% of Gen Z will share personal data online. Now think of our first request of people who want information or help from us. We put them online, fill in this form with all this private information. You might want to reconsider that. You may think that Google is the most visited site in the world, and you'd be absolutely right. But the next most visited site in the world is YouTube. It's also the second largest search engine in the world. In fact, YouTube has become the video version of Wikipedia, and Gen Z looks there first, before Google, before Wikipedia. Over 80% of Gen Z worldwide and 96% in the US are YouTube users, which contributes to the 1 billion hours of video that are viewed every day. This is a generation of viewers, not readers. According to the Millennial Branding Report and Deep Focus's Cassandra Report, Gen Z are blurring the lines between passion and profession. Over 3/4 of Gen Z interviewed want to make their hobbies into jobs. Over 70% of high school students want to start a business. Unfortunately, only 58% of them want to learn how, but we're working on that. In other words, they speak startup. In fact, an overwhelming percentage of the people interviewed in a recent Startup News study have a goal of entrepreneurship over nearly any other option. You can blame some of that on youth. Then again, they see it happening around them. They're not only starting up businesses, but some of them are doing actually very well. A kid in the upper left-hand corner, 17-year-old who sold an iPhone app for $30 million, something he built in high school. I'll take 30 mil for something I did in high school any day, but it's unlikely anybody's going to want to pay me to do anything but forget about high school. Here's the challenge and the opportunity. At the same time that they want to start up businesses, their attitudes about money are keeping them from taking advantage of the available financial resources that can enable their dreams. According to Forbes, 57% of Gen Z would rather save money than spend it immediately. This is a generation of savers. As an example, most of them rent their textbooks instead of buying them. I've got boxes of my old textbooks upstairs. I'm never going to use them. They're out of date. And money for them isn't just about banks. PayPal has always been a payment option. Venmo has been an option for over a decade. Even that wacky thing, Bitcoin, has been real for half of their lives. So banking looks different to them. And with typical debt to income ratio at just half of other generations, they're using debt differently. Not so much for debt consolidation, which makes sense because they have less overall debt, but much more for a major purchase or healthcare or auto needs instead of frivolous things. One of the things driving this is a real sincere fear of debt. They don't want to look like their parents or be like their older siblings as they save for a more secure future. They don't yet see the difference between smart debt that funds their future and bad debt that just piles up. So they put off buying or investing in things that they may want today. Financial literacy is not taught in school. So 85% of them rely on parents, family, and frighteningly on YouTube for guidance. That's scary, but it may also be an opportunity. Okay, so that was a quick run through of some important information about our Gen Z Next customers. All of us on this call have the same general goal: engage with these people, guide them to use our services at the right time and in the right ways so they can benefit. We all have different ideas about how to do that best, but we can kickstart the thinking by asking some questions based on what we know. When we with the MSBDC work with our clients and their audiences, we ask our clients to ask the same kinds of questions so they can get to real insights, not just facts. Let's see some of the questions that apply here. Since we know they're action-oriented, we should ask, how can we help them define and achieve their goals? How can we model or demonstrate different paths to success that they may not have thought of? Since we know they prioritize authenticity over perfection, how can we show our authentic selves without looking like we're just trying to sell something? They've got an 8-second filter, so how can we connect quickly and visually with this generation who view rather than read? They're consciously private, so how can we engage without forcing them to give away too much personal information too soon? We have to build to that level of trust. We know that they're entrepreneurial, but not business literate. So how can we help them best become business and financially literate and to learn best practices without lecturing. We know that they value real, trusting relationships. So how can we become trusted advisors and more than just sources of funding? How can we help them adult? And if you haven't heard that term before, this is a generation of people who convert nouns to verbs. They verb nouns. Adulting is anything that seems grown up. I took out the trash today on time, hashtag adulting. I balanced my checkbook, hashtag adulting. They tend to be scared of debt. So how can we help them get comfortable with smart debt that helps them achieve their goals instead of frivolous debt, stupid debt? They've got a real desire to learn and improve themselves. So how can we help create or support opportunities for them learning how to get from idea to business? If we do this right, if we answer these questions correctly, we're going to be supporting a generation full of people who'll appreciate what we do and benefit from our expert guidance. Remember, this is a generation that's just coming into their own, and they're very pragmatic. They know it's important to do things correctly now so they can have a stable future. But this is important. We can't do an ad or a marketing campaign and call it a day. This is not about a slogan. This is about cultivating a trusted relationship. You got to really want to help them in a way that's in sync with their needs. We've got to walk the talk. We've got to be authentic. So let's close with 3 takeaways that encompass the things we've been talking about. Gen Z is our next customer and client base, and they're different than whom we've been preparing for. We need to consider and adapt to their view of the world. They're not going to adapt to ours. And there's an opportunity to become trusted advisors, helping them with adulting skills. And that's going to lead to the kinds of engagements we really want and to lead us to help them. Working together, MSBDC, the lenders, SBA, we do this really well. And we value the trust you put in our ability as the MSBDC to connect and work with a larger team to help our clients. Together, we can really do some amazing stuff. And as always, we want to thank our key strategic partners. We're powered by the U.S. Small Business Administration. We're a proud member of America's SBDC. We're supported by the Massachusetts Office of Business Development, and we're hosted by UMass Amherst's Eisenberg School of Management. On behalf of all of us, I want to thank you for your time and attention today. And remember, you can always reach out to us at msbdc.org/Berkshire or through email. Thank you.